two other players. We're not hopping off the disappointment train quite yet here, Kimsey. Alejandro Kirk, Daulton, Varsho. One of them was an all-star 12 months ago. One of them was the prized off-season acquisition last winter. Give me something on each of those guys, because I like Varsho is tough too because he's been so good in the field that it's like, okay, you almost want to, like, if he was just a free agent ad for a handful of millions of dollars, you'd be like, hey, we like what we're getting from him, right? Evan Kiermaier. But the fact they paid that price, again, put expectations up at this level that Varsho just hasn't lived up to because of his deficiencies at the plate.
No, both players have been good defensively, so that's a positive, especially with Varsho. He's been fantastic defensively. Like those times where he plays in center field when Kiermaier is not available. That's exactly why they needed to make that trade. But at the end of the day, like, they did pay a significant price, and you also attach Kirk to this as well. Like, you know, we talked everyone knew leading into the offseason, one of the three catchers was going to go, and that was the talk. Which one of the three is it going to be? Like, okay, they're probably going to keep Danny Jansen because he's the veteran who knows the pitchers. Oh, well, Alejandro Kirk's also Manoah's personal catcher, so he's probably going to stay. Okay, it makes sense to get rid of Gabby Moreno then. And, I mean, you have a lot of people saying now, oh, geez, like, Kirk fell off a cliff. They should have sold high when he was doing well. Like, you know, this is Dioner Navarro 2.0. He comes in with Tampa Bay and makes the All-Star team in his first year, and then he's never that good ever again. And, you know, like, not exactly the most, like, perfectly comparable thing, but you have tons of different people are saying, no, they should have traded Kirk for a left fielder instead. But it's only been half a season. Varsho's a young player. It's not like this isn't Seattle acquiring Teoscar Hernandez. We're getting this guy for 1 year and then he's going to walk. Or we're going to have to pay him or whatever. This is a guy they got this is like his second full major league season. So there's still a ways to go, but no, it hasn't been tremendously encouraging. It's really shocking to see what's happened with Kirk too as well. Like, this was someone who came up and his command of the strike zone was so good. Like, he never swung at anything outside of the zone, and now he's swinging through stuff, and it's really weird. It's not what you'd expect, but also at the end of the day, and I mentioned this before with the relievers, that's baseball. Like, you cannot go into a season looking at stats and numbers and thinking, okay, everyone's just going to pan out. Like, at least a handful of guys are going to underperform, a handful of guys are going to overperform, and you have to hope that kind of works out, and you kind of mesh that together and everything just, you know, lines out. But, you know, when you look at this team on paper in the offseason, these were two players who you could pencil in at like 5th and 6th, and you thought if they hit like their career averages, that's all you need. Then this is a good lineup, and they have not hit like their career averages, and as a result, the lineup's, it's fine, but it's not, I wouldn't call it good or great. It's just okay. And I think the three guys we've talked about here, if they get hot in the second half, it's going to be an amazing lineup. But I haven't seen much to think that any of the three of them can get super hot in the second half. There just hasn't been that much optimism around the three of them.
So BK, I'll flip it to you. Between Kirk and Varsho, is there one of them that stands out as maybe is more concerning than the other? Or is there one of them that you look at and go, I actually think they might be primed to have a way better second half than first half?
I think Kirk is more concerning just because everything that made him great, it's almost like the Vladdy conversation again, right? Because we forget how young Alejandro Kirk is, but he had such an elite bat to ball tool where he just hit line drives, right? Like, when he came up, he hit line drives to the outfield. He wasn't like a big power guy, but he hit gappers for doubles and just line drive singles. And now he just like rolls over things, pops out, and it's like he's getting absolutely nothing from his legs at the plate. So I'm like, I don't know how they fixed that. It seemed like last year he tired because he was elite the first half and then, like, you know, okay, slightly below average hitter in the second half. And then this year, it's funny that we're pairing these guys together because they have identical 78 WRC pluses this year. That's an awful number. With Kirk, he's basically your, like, dad's version of a backup catcher, right? Like, and that is complete opposite of what you expected coming up. You thought he'd be a rough defensive guy who's going to hit his way to be worth playing time. And now he's an elite blocker and framer, seemingly a pretty good pitch caller, and he works with the pitchers well. And he's got a 78 WRC plus. Like, he's Jose
like Molina.
He's like a 1990s backup catcher. And I'm like, how is that Alejandro Kirk at like the age of 24? How did we get here? So I'm more concerned about him. Daulton Varsho had a 106 WRC plus last year. If he was just that guy, we would be like singing his praises. And I don't know, again, like, what is it? Are the Jays tinkering with stuff with him? Is he too nervous? You know, coming to a new team, new changes, and he just has had trouble just getting comfortable. Because if you go and look at his like month by month splits, even last year, he had brutal months like we have seen, but he also had red hot months and like really good months. And we haven't seen that swing. So he's a streaky hitter, much like Lourdes was for us out of left field, but we have not seen very sustained good streaky. And we're really just waiting for that to come. And there's nothing watching him hit right now that makes you think, oh, that's coming and that's imminent. But he gives you so much like base running, fielding. I feel bad for him because like he wants it so bad. You can see it on him, right? Like he's the try hard dude, but like in the like sincere, like pure form of try hard. He wants it so bad. So I feel quite bad for him. But both guys have been really frustrating, and 78 WRC plus is awful. Like that's an atrocious number. I think the trade was defensible if he was just 2022 Varsho. And when the Jays got him, I think they thought there was more there. I think that's why they were comfortable with that trade. They thought he could get to be like a 115, 120 guy. And if I recall, like I think his second half last year was better than his first half. So like there was these things to look like maybe he's breaking out as a hitter and we're getting in early on that. The trade itself, like I don't think teams wanted Kirk. The Jays were in a weird spot because a team has to want the player at a high price that you're trading. Kirk had 4 years left of control, had a really mediocre second half. Teams have always had concerns about his body holding up in the catcher position. So he, with only 4 years, he didn't fit a rebuilding team. A contending team likely didn't want to hand him the keys as their starting catcher. So like St. Louis wasn't interested in Kirk at all. Like they wanted Danny Jansen, and the Diamondbacks weren't interested in Kirk. They wanted Moreno. And there weren't many sellers last year that were trading good outfielders. So the Jays kind of just made the deal they had to make. The problem is that Lourdes Gurriel's had a really nice season. And I looked at that as a throw-in. I was fine. Like to me, it was like, whatever. Like he wasn't, now they have the starting outfield. He would have been a fourth outfielder anyways. It's his walk year. Probably unfair to him to demote him right before his walk year. He's going to make $7 million. If he was a free agent, he's worth what, like 12 over 1 year going into last offseason. So he carried like maybe $5 million of surplus value. To me, that was just a throw in to finalize the trade. I honestly didn't think much about it at the time. And now it's proven a pretty big deal because Gabby Moreno's actually struggled offensively quite a bit with the Diamondbacks. So at least that part of the trade, that's the part that worried me the most. And that's the part looking maybe okay. But it's weird to reevaluate all this. But man, if Varsho can just be like last year's version for the second half, massive for the team, like absolutely huge. I want it for him. I want it for me. I want to watch Daulton Varsho do all these other things good and be like, oh, also when he's coming to the plate, I'm feeling good. But yeah, I mean, two really disappointing players in the first half.
It's starting to remind me a lot of, and this reference or this comparison was brought up in the past. It's reminding me a lot of Colby Rasmus when they got him back in, what was that, like 2011, 2012 or whenever that was. And the potential, it's all the skills are there, and it's just when he connects and he hits that home run, and it's a beautiful swing, and the ball just goes a million miles an hour, and the speed and the fielding, everything. It's just stunning that he can't put it all together. It's weird. Like you said, would love to see it in the second half.